Today, we're looking at resource capacity planning best practice and getting started tips. Trying to create a resource capacity plan is enough to stop most resource and project managers dead in their tracks. If this sounds like you, don't worry. Today, I'm going to walk you through some simple, actionable tips and best practice you can use to help with your resource capacity planning. First, let's recap what a resource capacity plan is used for. A resource capacity plan helps organizations work out if they have enough people with the right skills to get their projects done. It is a high-level tool that compares the current resource capacity you have with the resource capacity you need. Using a capacity plan, you can determine if you have too many resources or not enough resources, or if the mix of skills in your organization needs adjusting. Let's look at where resource capacity planning fits into the whole portfolio, project and resource management jigsaw. Everything starts with new projects and work being requested. This work is then reviewed and decisions made about which projects and work you want to do. Decisions here are typically based on things like costs, value to the organization and risk, etc. But before you can commit to projects, there is another dimension that needs to be considered. Do you have enough resources? So this is where capacity planning comes into play. It uses high-level estimates of the types of resources each project needs and compares this to your supply of resources. If you have a shortfall of resources, then you need to consider options such as hiring more resources, retraining, deferring work, or cancelling or putting on hold lower priority projects. So resource capacity planning is a decision support tool to help the leadership team make tough decisions about what they can realistically do with the resources available. Okay, so next, let's look at some essential resource planning best practice tips and tricks you can easily implement now. The first thing you need to look at is how you calculate the capacity of your resources. Capacity planning does not concern itself with individual resources. Instead, it looks at the capacity of higher level pools of resources. Typically, this will be things like teams, skill sets, or roles. So these are the kinds of levels you want to be calculating your capacity to. Next, make sure you account for things like sickness and vacations, as these will reduce the availability of resources. As a capacity plan can run many months into the future, the best way to handle these is by looking at historic trends and then reducing your future capacity accordingly. Next, you need to record all your resource demand. This is one step people often get wrong. People tend to focus on demand flowing from projects, but forget to include things like support time and ongoing operational or business as usual activities. You also need to consider how much time is spent on things like administration, team management, etc. Only then will you have an accurate picture of what your resources are being asked to do. Next, consider the granularity or level of detail of your capacity plans. Some organizations try to drive their resource capacity planning by rolling up detailed task level information, often from things like project or task level plans. But this is normally too low level and too volatile. So we recommend that you simply record for each project the resource needs for each month at the team or skill set level. It is normally easy to do this in days, but you can use hours or FTE if that works for you. Then compare this to your resource capacity per month to spot the gaps. Remember, with the resource capacity planning, you need to strike a balance between good and perfect data, and the goal is good data you can make decisions with. While talking about the level of planning detail, there is one other thing to consider. Ideally, your resource capacity plan should include all your resources. But to get your resource capacity planning process going, you can start by focusing on the teams or skills that are most often requested to work on projects, are critical, or are in short supply. These are the pinch points in your resource pool, so start by focusing on these groups first. Next, consider your resource capacity planning time frame. A capacity plan is used to help you make decisions on resource hiring, training, or committing to new projects. So you want to align your capacity plan's duration with how long these normally take. If it typically takes you 3 months to recruit and onboard new resources, then your capacity plan wants to be looking perhaps 3 to 4 months out. If customers are pushing you to commit to projects starting in 6 months, then this may mean your capacity plan needs to run out a little further. It is pointless planning too far into the future, as things will inevitably change. When resource capacity planning, there is not one correct answer. Rather, there are competing plans, each with their own benefits and trade-offs. Leadership teams need to be able to see the impact of pausing, cancelling or delaying projects, or see the outcome of laying off staff or hiring new headcount. They need to see what can be saved and the likely benefits that can be achieved by moving projects or resources between projects, and critically how many projects they can or cannot perform. This type of analysis is normally called what-if planning, and this is where the benefits of resource capacity planning go into overdrive. What-if planning is a feature often found in dedicated resource capacity planning tools. It allows different project and resource level options to be tested, analysed, and forces difficult decisions to be made. So one key tip I would give is to try and use a tool for your resource capacity planning, and don't bury your head in spreadsheets. I hope you enjoyed this video, and here is a quick summary of what we covered today. And if you're looking for a tool to help with your capacity planning, please head over to clue.com and sign up for a free trial of our tool.